Hi, my name's Kim. I'm a licensed and nationally certified Chinese medical provider, and I am a baby Taoist practitioner. And today I thought, wow, let's talk about some more Taoist thoughts in Chinese medicine. So how about if we talk a little bit more about the I Ching? And the I Ching, it's also known as the Book of Changes. They say that this is an ancient book of divination. I'm not sure if I like that definition, divination. I think that more it's a book of guidance and wisdom, and it's a book that I've used personally quite a bit in my life to give me guidance and wisdom, and it's helped me to understand myself and the world around me, as well as providing guidance when I'm making important decisions. I discovered the I Ching through Chinese medicine. In Chinese medicine, the I Ching can give insight to a person's health, their wellness, and the potential complexities with their health. So the book uses a system of hexagrams to give you guidance. And the hexagrams can reveal all this information about a person's physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And it can also be used as a guide to help you pick acupuncture points or herbs or just your overall treatment principles. So how does the I Ching do this? Well, let's look at the hexagrams, okay? Because the hexagrams are based on this concept of yin and yang, they represent these opposing forces, and they're connected and they're constantly in balance. When they say being constantly in balance in Chinese medicine, what they mean is that yin and yang, it can have varying weights, but they always stay attached to each other and they move around each other. They always balance each other out and stay on the same axis or the same fulcrum. It's kind of like, teeter-totter. You have more weight and then this side goes up, and then you have more weight over here and this side goes down. So it's kind of like a teeter-totter. There's 64 hexagrams, and so each of these hexagrams has 6 lines, and there's going to be a solid yang line or a broken yin line. And so one of those 2 lines, it's kind of binary, and it's the combination of those binary codes that make up a hexagram. So when you look at this, when you look at these hexagrams, there's even more detail to that, because those 6 lines are made up of 3 lines, right? So 3 on the bottom and 3 on the top. And those are made up of 2 trigrams. So in Chinese medicine, there's 8 trigrams. Each of these trigrams has 3 lines, and it represents some sort of element in life. So when we look at these 8 trigrams, we see we have heaven, we have earth, we have water, we have fire, we have mountain, we have lake, we have the thunder, and we have wind. So those are your 8 trigrams. Attached to each one of those trigrams is all this symbolism from Taoism. And it's that symbolism that gives you an idea of what's going on in the trigram. And then when you put 2 of them together and you get a hexagram, it's the combination of those 2 that gives you an idea of what's going on in the situation right now, what's going on in the situation in the future, to give you an idea of how you want to interact with the situation. So we know what the primary trigrams are. We said, okay, we got heaven. Heaven's made up of 3 yang lines, and then we have earth, and that's made up of 3 yin lines. After that, we have Li or fire, which is a yang, a yin, and a yang line. And then we have water, which is a yin, a yang, and then a yin line. We have mountain, which is 2 yin lines and a yang line. Lake, which is 2 yang and 1 yin. We have wind, which is 1 yin, 2 yang. Thunder is 1 yang and 2 yin lines. When you're reading the hexagrams or the trigrams, you start at the bottom and then you read up. Okay, so that's how the 8 trigrams look, but what will really help you is to, get some ideas of what each one of these trigrams represents. So when you're looking at it, you can go, oh, okay, that's what it means, and that's what it means for me. So the first one is going to be heaven, right? And that's going to be about creativity. It's going to be about strength. It's going to be about guidance. And it's going to represent the yang principle. And it also represents the father. And then we have Kun, which is the trigram, which represents earth. And so that represents receptiveness, and that represents form and stability and nurturing, and it represents the yin principle and earth, and it represents the mother. So then we have thunder, and this trigram, it's associated with movement and energy and arousal, and it's going to represent the eldest son. And so when you see thunder, think about maybe sudden change. And water, this trigram, it's really interesting. It represents the middle son, and they say it represents danger. And if you look at China, it has the Yangtze River going through it. It has these really big rivers that in ancient times used to flood. And so crossing water, crossing rivers was always kind of dangerous back then. So water, they always show that as danger, and they show it as danger, they show it as depth, and also unknown. And then we have the mountain, and this is associated with stillness, and it's associated with reflection and contemplation. So it represents the third son. So after those 3, we have Li, which is fire, and this one represents brightness. It represents warmth and clarity, and it also represents the second daughter. After that, we have sun, which is wind, and that trigram is associated with gentleness. It's associated with penetration, because think of how the wind, how it can go through a forest, and it can get everywhere. It can really penetrate in deeply, but it's also very flexible because it has to go around a lot of things to penetrate. So it's also very flexible. So this one represents the eldest daughter. And the last one we have is lake, and that's going to be the third daughter. And this one, the lake, it can also be valley. So lake or valley. You see them talk a lot about this at the base of the mountain. So you can have a valley between 2 mountains, or you can have a lake between 2 mountains. And so there's this concept of joy, there's this concept of abundance and openness. And so that's your third daughter. So now that's just some general characteristics of what those 8 trigrams can mean. And it's going to change slightly depending on how the trigrams sit with each other, how their relationship is to each other, and how it relates to what your question is. Because the mountain, it can be stillness, it can be reflection, it can be stubbornness, right? It can be immobile. Everything has a yin and yang aspect of its definition, and I pretty much gave you the positive highlights of it. So when you think about the I Ching, the creator of it was King Wen of the Zhou dynasty. So that was one of the first dynasties way back, around 1700 BCE. So 1700, we're at 2000, so it's almost 4,000 years ago. And that's when he wrote this, when he was imprisoned by the Shang king. And at that time, he was the son of the Zhou king. And so he was imprisoned to encourage his father not to invade the Shang dynasty. But while he was there, he had free time, and he spent a lot of time thinking about these 64 hexagrams and how they create life, how they relate to the world after birth. And so that's what this whole I Ching relates to is time, and the time after birth. Not the time before birth, but the time after birth. So the thing they say about King Wen too is that he was really wise, and that he was able to use this wisdom of the I Ching to help lead a peaceful transition from the Shang dynasty to the Zhou dynasty, and that was through guidance from the I Ching. So now you got these 8 trigrams, and you're going to combine them, right? Because you're going to take 2 trigrams, put them together, and you're going to make a hexagram. And what those hexagrams do is that they define a flow of life.
One way these hexagrams are going to define a flow of life is by the order that they're put in. Each pair of hexagrams forms a yang-yin pair. Hexagram 1 and hexagram 2 form a yang-yin pair. And then we have hexagram 3 and hexagram 4 form a yang-yin pair. And you notice that the yang hexagrams are odd numbers and the yin hexagrams are going to be even numbers. And when you look at these yang or yin hexagrams, they represent the opposite. Hexagram 1 is 2 heaven trigrams, and hexagram 2 is 2 earth trigrams. And in yin-yang theory, those are opposites. And the next pair is beginnings and childhoods, and that is considered opposites too. If we looked at ancient China, the calendar was made up of what they call 6 nodes, and in each one of these nodes was 5 days for a total of 30 days. So each day of the calendar is made up of a pair of hexagram. Takes 30 days times 2, and that makes 60 hexagrams with 4 hexagrams left over. And the 4 hexagrams left over, those 4 remaining hexagrams, they're really special. And we can talk about those in another episode. The last thing that we'll talk about is how these hexagrams define movement. And it's thought that these hexagrams are going to define all the movement in the universe. And if you think about movement as waves, you're going to see this movement in the constant flow of waves. It happens over and over. And if you were surfing, you would want to be out in the water right before the waves start to break the surface so you could ride the wave into the shore. It's that understanding of where you are in the wave that governs the natural order of the universe and is the ultimate guide for understanding the meaning and purpose of your life. So the I Ching is about helping you understand where you are in the flow of the wave to enable you to make better decisions and live in flow with the energies of the world. So just like the wave on the ocean, understanding where you are in relation to where the wave is allows you to make decisions on if you need to paddle out further, or if it's too soon to try and ride the wave, or too late to try and ride the wave. It's that kind of knowledge where individuals are able to move more effortlessly through life without resistance or struggle. There's an introduction for you to the I Ching to start understanding how the book is laid out and to give you an idea of how it relates to flow and to time, and how it can help you better guide or navigate each stage of your life. If you're curious about I Ching readings and want to get one for yourself, there's going to be a link at the end of this video so you can order an I Ching reading from me and gain the clarity and confidence you need to move forward on your path. Until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.